Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101.
Ahoy! Let's go! We're waking up Chicago. Turn up the radio. It's time to start the show. On Q101 with the morning crew. Ahoy! Let's go! Welcome to the morning show.
Let's go. It's Brian and Kenzie on Q101, 6:04. It is 21 degrees, so it's about 17 degrees warmer. That's at O'Hare anyway, but 17 degrees warmer in Chicagoland, roughly, than it was yesterday, which led me to drive in today. I took the car back from the wife. I've been giving her the car because she walks our girl Harper to daycare, but below zero, listen, I'm human. I'm compassionate. I'm sympathetic. You can't do that. Take the car. I'll take an Uber, a rideshare, and Lyfts. And I got to say, damn, did I miss talking to my Lyft driver today. Like talking to somebody in the car.
You like talking to Lyft drivers far more than I do. And by the way, I don't mind talking to them, but I never initiate the conversation.
I know you can put in there, I don't want conversation. I want to just sit in your car.
You want conversation.
I check that box off. I
Yeah.
say, get ready to talk.
Yeah, I've got a few ideas for things we can talk about, too. If you don't like this, I can pivot to this.
I do the show verbally to the rideshare driver before we get in here to make sure the show's going to be okay. And I missed it today. I was just alone in the car and listening to the Brian and Kenzie podcast. Just did that, you know?
Of course. No, you're having a good time in there. I'm sorry you couldn't converse with anybody at 3:30 in the morning. Obviously, the best time to have a conversation with somebody.
It's like what Joe in Round Lake just checked in and said, I'm a rideshare driver. I would have picked you up if I knew you were looking for one the last couple of days.
Would have driven in from Round Lake just to come get you?
Listen, I know people do big loops of the city, like Round Lake, come on over to Wrigleyville.
Big old loop-de-loop.
Zip back out. So appreciate you in Round Lake that you would have come all the way down. I appreciate you, but not necessary. The Rogue, my 2019 Rogue is operating fine now. And
Megan didn't break it at all. There's nothing wrong with it. The seat was back in the right place.
Don't get me started. Now, it does have an automatic setting on the seat where you push a button, it goes back to normal.
Sorry, Mr. Rockefeller.
I couldn't even get...
Good Lord.
Okay, Kias have those. I shouldn't even say. It's fine. You don't own a car, you don't understand. That's a normal setting to have the automatic seat back readjustment.
I was unaware.
No.
My Model T, I did not know they had that technology now.
That is not elitist. That is certainly nothing privileged to have the seat automatic return or whatever they want to call that button. That's what it was. But I missed conversation, so I'm ready to talk to you today at 312-591-8300. Case is here. Case didn't wash his hands, so we got Kenzie sick, and she's still sick. Make sure you wash your hands the minute you get back in the house from touching bus handles. Wash your hands.
Among other things.
Whatever you touch outside. Wash your hands when you get home. Case got Kenzie sick, and now she's not here again today.
I apologize.
It's too late.
This wasn't a master plan. I like when Kenzie's here.
Is that right? Yeah.
It's true. I know. Whoa, hey, let's not start that, okay? I love this show. I love everybody on this show. It's a fun work environment. No, I don't like this.
Yeah, sounds just about right. Yeah.
What the hell?
I think
this is how rumors start on Facebook. Thank you.
Exactly right. I think you went to the CDC and put bubonic plague on your hands. Kenzie, come over here and give me a hug. Come on, girl.
Where's my hug?
Where's my hug?
I tried to pick her up. I gave her the plague.
Yeah.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
On Q101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101, and time for a fact that makes your brain go. This one kind of a terrifying fact, and we look to the state of Indiana. So, Indiana is doing something to Illinois that if we were in the olden times would cause a war.
Oh.
And this is today's fact that makes your brain go. Now, what do you think, possibly top of your head, first thought that Indiana could be doing to Illinois that could cause a war in the old days?
Did they steal our horses? Do we have state-owned horses that Indiana went after?
In today's times, you're saying this now.
I don't know what our horse count is. I don't know what Pritzker's horse agenda is.
I do know, and I could be wrong at this time of the year.
So you don't know?
No, well, I'm forgetting about horses for a second. our deer population. I know there's like that one day when hunting starts and we level about 5,000 deer.
Have to.
Venison chili's delicious, and it's also part of ecology. It's actually, I've been told, it's a good thing.
Oh, I'm sure.
But I love animals. I don't want anything killed. So it's kind of, I'm in a tough spot. I love steak, but I love animals. It's a very complicated legacy I'm going to have.
Yeah, it's tough.
So I don't know the horse count or the deer count. Well, stay with that. If you think you know what it is at 312-591-8300, guess right now in 5 minutes we'll give you the answer. But Indiana is doing something to Illinois that if we were in olden times would have caused a war. And I'm not sure if there's going to be a big uprising in today's times. We'll find out. But 5 minutes will tell you what it is.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
On Q 101.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
On Q 101.
Well, time for a fact that makes your brain go. And a local fact that the state of Indiana is doing something to the state of Illinois that if it was the olden days would cause a war. I'm not sure it'll cause a war. In fact, I don't know if anybody really cares about this or not. So we're getting it out there for you to decide. Case guessed, steal our horses.
Yes, I did.
Now, what that did lead me to a wormhole before we give you the answer in this break was to see how many wild horses are in Illinois right at this moment. There are over 80,000. I was shocked by that number. 80,000 wild horses on federal lands in Illinois. The Bureau of Land Management manages most of the nation's wild horses and burros. I guess a burro is another kind of horse.
I thought it was a donkey.
Is that what it is?
A burro or a bureau?
Well, it's spelled like a churro, so
I think that's a donkey. A burro is a donkey.
Oh, yeah, it's a donkey.
Yeah.
There's wild donkeys in Illinois?
How many? Well, before we talk about the donkey aspect of this, you said there were 80,000 wild horses in Illinois?
And donkeys, apparently.
I would have taken the under on 80,000 horses in America.
Wild horses. So
But that's more rare.
There's
Because I had domesticated horses as a kid.
Is that, whoa.
I grew up on farmland.
And how did you domesticate them? Did you steal them and then beat them down?
I took them from the state of Illinois. I said, I'm coming back to Indiana with these guys.
Well, apparently a burro, there's a lot of them in Illinois, wild as well. And you know they can run 15 miles an hour, a donkey?
Well, so can I.
Only because Wikipedia came up and it said donkey. It said burro is a donkey and they can run 15 miles an hour. I don't know why that's the progression of facts when you look up a burro.
Well, that would be my next question is how fast are these suckers? Can I race them or not? And I think I could beat a donkey in a foot race.
Clearly not. Can you run 15 miles an hour?
I think so. 15 miles an hour is, that's the speed of a car.
How long could you run 15 miles an hour?
100-meter dash, I'm taking the donkey out.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like a running, like.
But 100 meters is a run.
It's a run, but it's a short run.
It's a sprint, to be specific.
10 seconds for the world record. That's not very long.
But I think I could run 100 meters in 15 seconds, and I think a donkey wouldn't do it in under 20.
No. You know what? Coming up this summer, we're going to have donkey races here on the show.
If anybody has a donkey that we can rent, let me know.
Apparently there's wild ones we can just go take.
Oh, good. Oh, thank God.
So, you are incorrect, by the way. It is not, Indiana's not stealing our horses. What they're doing, and this should be terrifying, I think, maybe possible a war situation could happen, what Indiana's doing to Illinois. The Indiana House caucus, the Republican caucus, announced its intent to redraw state lines of Indiana to welcome dozens of Illinois counties that want to secede from their state. So they're trying to take land from Illinois that is willing and able. They're not taking it by force, but then again, a lot of wars have started this way with friendly banter. Mm-hmm. And before you know it, some muskets came out and millions of people died and wars lasted 15 years.
And also, back in olden days, nobody had any hobbies. War was like an activity.
Yeah,
it was something to get through the day with.
You couldn't binge Entourage in the 1800s, so
nothing.
You might as well go to war.
Think about, especially pre-baseball, you only had war. That was the only play you could do.
And baseball's been around a long time. War's been around longer than baseball.
Since the beginning of time.
So,
what is it good for?
According to the speaker, more than 30 Illinois counties have voted, I didn't know this, to secede from Illinois since 2020. 30 counties have voted to secede with the frustrating high taxes, which we do have one of the highest tax states in the country, without question. So I didn't know, though, that people have voted to secede from Illinois.
Nor did I. It feels like that should have been a bigger story.
How did we miss that? We've talked about every new food item at McDonald's last year, but we missed that people were voting to secede.
Secede is a threatening word. That's a big thing to do.
Last time it happened, there was a long war.
For 4 years, to be specific.
And nearly 1 million people died. Okay, so seceding and creating a 51st state, they're even thinking of doing, but really just to join Indiana. So this is a bill that's going through the Indiana General Assembly that would create an Indiana-Illinois Boundary Adjustment Commission tasked with helping those Illinois counties become part of the Hoosier state. It's HB 1008 if it passes. To actually do that. Now, this process follows a constitutional process for redrawing state boundaries. We could lose our border. Like when you see what Illinois looks like, which is kind of a weird when you see the drawing of it. Like Michigan, people hold up their hands to show the thumb. And, you know, there's other states that are a little more defining. Florida is kind of like a dong, I guess.
Panhandle is what they actually... Florida's like a dong. That's nice, Brian.
It's like a flaccid dong. I don't know what Illinois is, but if we lost some of those little curvatures around Indiana, I guess I'd be disappointed.
Well, okay.
At the least, I wouldn't go to war over it, but I'd be disappointed.
That's the problem, is that you want to go to war over it. Can I be conspiratorial for a second? Can I put on my tinfoil hat?
Of course.
I think this whole issue is being drawn up by Big Map, because I think the map industry is struggling. Think about it, Brian. Everybody who has a map of the 50 United States, this great nation, God bless America, everybody who has a map or wants a map already has a map. There's no need to buy a map in 2025, but if they redraw the state boundaries, all of a sudden the map industry is going to shoot through the roof. Your thoughts on that?
I'm letting it marinate. Give me a second. When you hear a conspiracy theory, you can't say, yes, I'm in right away.
Why else would they do this? Follow the money. The money's going to the maps. And my guess is our congressmen and women probably have stocks invested in map drawing.
You know when you're driving on the turnpike or even any highway, let's say, where there's a rest stop, and you go in there and they still have the big map in there?
Yes, because before you continue, I come from a generation, I've never used a paper map. I couldn't begin to figure out how to use a paper map. I can barely follow at the malls where they have the directory that says, you are here, here's the Banana Republic. I can barely handle that, let alone a cross-country road trip with a paper map.
Well, they do the same things in those rest stops where you are here, and let's say Springfield is down here.
Yeah.
And I always, every time I'm on a road trip, there are men gathered around that map discussing what's on the map between here and Springfield and where they could possibly stop for a good diner. You know, your GPS won't tell you that. These old guys will.
Well,
so whenever you're seeing old guys are on a map, perk up, get your ears ready, take a listen, lean in. Because there's some great information you're going to get there that GPS won't tell you.
And you hit the nail on the head. It's always men gathered around the map. I've never seen a woman look at that map. And by the way, they're allowed to, and if they want to, they can. But it's only old men looking at that map.
Well, listen, they're going to go over to there's always some kind of woman's section at the rest stop they're going to go to. I don't know what that is.
What's the woman's section?
The magazine rack? I don't know. There's still magazines there, believe it or not.
Oh, yeah, Martha Stewart's got to stay in business somehow.
So we have people already. See, this is what's going to happen. Wars have started like this. Edward checked in and said, let them have those counties. We don't want them. That's how wars start. Some people in the county want to stay, and then they're going to build a fence, and they can't get out of the county. They have to be part of the county. This is very serious, that Indiana wants to take counties from Illinois. This should not be brushed over as a joke. They want to take them. Also, a lot of people on the text line want to see a donkey show here at Q101.
Well, that's a separate issue. That's later.
Can we put that on the back burner for a minute? We're talking about losing population and losing counties.
I guess here's my question for you. And Brian, I'm curious to see if you can answer this.
Okay.
The people that live in the counties that want to secede.
Yeah.
Now Indiana wants to take over our border. Why can't the people living in those counties just move to Indiana? Why do we have to change our border for their problem?
Because they have a nice house. They just maybe got some new carpeting. And what are they going to do?
Don't install new carpeting if you don't like the county that you live in. That's rule number 1 of home ownership.
But they didn't think it was going to happen, so all of a sudden it's going to happen.
Well, these taxes aren't new.
I just bought new carpeting. I can't move now. Can't do it.
I'm forced to secede. I have no other choice.
I can't secede with new carpeting.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
Q101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101. If you just joined us, the fact that makes your brain go is that Indiana is trying to grab 30 counties from Illinois and redraw the border in an effort to, well, those counties voting to secede from Illinois, and they have nowhere to go on the border there except to Indiana. I'd love to see if Cook County voted. How can you move Cook County to Indiana? Cook County goes pretty damn far toward the border, but there's another county in between there. Because that's where the highest tax areas are. That's what this is all about. I think people paying too much taxes, we all know that. It's true. But seceding is a different thing. If it was the old days, you were going to war over a secession. So people are texting in on this. I said, are you guys into this?
Are you into going into war?
Well, would you go to war? And this is how wars started. Mm-hmm. There was no text line back in the day, but people's ideas and carrying it too far, when you think about it too much, yeah, let's do this.
Well, it's great because Kendrick from Uptown checked in, and Brian, this is the first guy that you paid for to go to the White Sox game last year, and we were trying to see them break the all-time losing record.
I remember Kendrick, yes.
He's our guy. We love him. He texted in all caps that he's ready to go to war with Indiana and that he's going for Gary, Indiana first.
See?
He's ready to go.
If you say things emphatically and really lay it out there, you can get an army ready to go. So who else is in?
Let that be a lesson for today. Forming an army is not as hard as you'd think it is.
Well, Kendrick, since you're first in, by the way, you're a general.
That's right. That's right. That's how that works.
You get the kick-ass tank, the kick-ass Jeep. You get a whole bunch of drones you can send over. You can stay in Uptown and send the drones to Gary.
Boy, that's a dark thought. to lead a war from the comfort of your own home because of drones is something that I have never considered before.
Thanks for being the first to check in, Kendrick. That's what you get for being the first one.
God bless.
Also, Chef Sean checked in, talking about Indiana trying to grab our counties and become part of Indiana. He says they're in it for the money, not the topography.
Jonas, son of a bitch.
Who is that, honey?
Jonas Miller, he's a night crawler. We all started out in the same lab, and Jonas went out and got himself some corporate sponsors. He's in it for the money, not the science.
That's Brian and Kenzie, Q101. Get ready for war.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
On Q101.
The Brian and Kenzie Show.
On Q101.
Brian and Kenzie on Q101. Before we get to Gil Curtis with your headlines, apparently this morning we have inadvertently started war with Indiana here in Illinois because Indiana's trying to take counties that have voted to secede actually legally. Indiana, their state senate is trying to enact a bill where they could actually accept these counties from Illinois that are upset of the high taxes, which I get. I get it. I'm up in Wrigleyville. I don't think I can secede to Indiana from Wrigleyville if I want to. It's too far.
It's tough. Logistically, it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, we got that map guy at the rest stop to kind of figure out how I could do that. That old guy there, maybe he could help me out.
It feels like a big opportunity for the crane industry to figure out how to take individual parts of Illinois and drop them into Indiana.
Or can't they extend the Skyway to my house? It's not that much farther. They're 20 miles. All right, so a lot of people texting in on this. 708 said, we're going to march into Indianapolis with the Q101 flag.
I feel like Ben Revere. What's his name? Paul Revere? Ben Revere? I think
Paul Revere.
Ben Revere, I think, was a basketball player.
Ben was his cousin.
Yeah.
Ben sat home while Paul said, wake up, we got to tell everybody the British are coming. He's like, nah, they're not coming tonight. Come on.
Oh, my goodness. Well, Phil checked in. He makes a great point here. This is what happens when Kenzie's out sick, is that Brian and I induce war. I mean, this is everything Eisenhower warned us about, but there's something really intoxicating about the thought of going to war, because Juan checked in from Batavia, and he doesn't just want to stick with going to war with Indiana. He wants to go to Indiana, and then he wants to go to Wisconsin, and then he wants to go to Michigan. We're going to take over the whole Midwest.
Oh, my God.
Not only are we going to New Hampshire, Tom Harkin, we're going to South Carolina and Oklahoma and Arizona and North Dakota and New Mexico. And we're going to California and Texas and New York. And we're going to South Dakota and Oregon and Washington and Michigan. And then we're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House. Yeah!
Yeah! By the way, before this war begins, which it seems like it's already started here at 6:30 this morning, I love Indiana. Valpo has every kind of restaurant you could want. When you get there, I mean, every single possibility of food, chain restaurant-wise, is waiting for you right there at 65 and the Turnpike.
Least we forget, I'm from there. My family lives there. This is going to be an issue where it's going to be like the Civil War where brothers would see each other in battle. I would have to go to war against my brother.
I want to see you and the double features who also live in Indiana, by the way. We can't lose the double features. I want to see them. They're great graphic designers. Of you in a Civil War outfit and a musket and that hat.
Oh, God, I hope I'm representing the North.
No, facing off against your brother. The image has to be and your dad at their horse farm in Fishers, Indiana.
Oh, God, I don't want to go to war against my family.
I think it's inevitable, and I think it's going to happen.
You've let me there.
Oh, God. Let's just get it started.
Back the White House!
All right, we'll continue to keep updates on this war that's been started this morning. In the meantime, it's Gil Curtis with your headlines. I don't think he has anything on war. He's just probably entertainment news. We'll see what happens.
This is not headline news. President Biden delivered his farewell address last night. Then he disappeared like Obi-Wan Kenobi, leaving nothing but a crumpled suit on the floor. Israel and Hamas have agreed to a ceasefire. And you know what that means. Tension in the Middle East is officially gone forever. JCPenney, Forever 21, Aeropostale, and Eddie Bauer are now part of the same company. Because bankruptcy is more fun as a group. There were no new fires in Los Angeles yesterday. Also not catching fire in LA yesterday, Andy Dick's career. And Dave Grohl spent his birthday making meals for LA fire victims. Dave's very good at putting buns in the oven. This is not headline news.
Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.
Well, coming up in sports, we got to talk about, of course, the Bulls. Big Cubs announcement, by the way, and snowmobiles. We'll get to all of that in 5 minutes after the Pumpkins, which we'll play them as well here in a second. If that all matters, since there's now an Indiana-Illinois war started here by Brian and Kenzie on Q101. Well, Kenzie's out sick. That's what somebody noted, that, boy, she's out sick, and this is what happens.
We start wars.
That's what happens. A lot of people checking in on the front lines. Pedro just checked in. Good morning. I'm already in Indiana, headed to Terre Haute, and once I get there, I'm starting the war on the ground. In the ground battles. He's from the south side, but he goes to Indiana. Okay, Pedro, I guess that's what's happening here. Again, the earlier fact stated why this all started, that Indiana is trying to snag counties, up to 30 counties from Illinois, and redraw the border because those counties actually want to secede because of the high taxes in Illinois, which is very warranted, and Indiana has lower taxes than, of course, Illinois.
And you talked about how unfortunate it is that we have to go to war with Indiana because in Valpo specifically, they have every restaurant that you could ever imagine. But Brian, this is the reality of war. We get lost in the ecstasy and the adrenaline of planning this battle. Jason just checked in from Cedar Lake. We have the first casualty of this war.
Oh, no.
He told me that the Quiznos in Valpo just closed.
Are you kidding me?
The Quiznos in Valpo is no longer there.
Now, it was there before the war started,
I'm told it's 6:56 a.m. right now, Central Standard Time. I am told the Quiznos closed at about 6:49 this morning.
You know how hard it is to find a Quiznos anymore?
Christmas Day in the Lowe household, I spent part of the day on the Quiznos Wikipedia page because my dad and I couldn't stop talking about how good Quiznos sounded.
There used to be a Quiznos below my apartment building in the little, up on Lincoln. Mm-hmm. It's gone. They're all gone.
It's gone.
Now it's gone in Valpo?
It's gone in Valpo. Brian, this is the first casualty of the war that we started.
That's where I wanted to have the treaty when the war ended.
The Treaty of Quiznos?
To end the war in like 6 years. I wanted to have it at that Quiznos.
Break a little bread, have a little hoagie, wash it down with a Dr. Pepper. These are the things, Brian, this is life in wartime. This is what happens.
Maybe we should rethink this.
It's too late.
It's too
we
late.
have troops on the ground. Pedro's on the ground right now.
Pedro's on the ground getting ready to take Terre Haute. All right.
Brian and Kenzie in the morning. And Chicago's alternative all day.
Q101.